Welcome to the Last Supper. Have a seat at the table around the pillows, okay?
I like this.
Alright.
This was my favorite.
Okay. Alright, well I'm going to tell you about the events that took place at the Last Supper, that otherwise known then as the Feast of Passover. Jesus told his disciples exactly who to go to and where they were supposed to go and prepare the room for Passover. And then he comes that night and he sits down at the table just like you guys did, okay? And then he says something a little strange. He says, let me turn this down. He says, I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me. And then the disciples start looking at each other and they said, then they look at Jesus and they asked him, said, Lord, is it I? Then Judas Iscariot, and y'all remember Judas, he's very important, okay? Judas asked him a question. He said, Rabbi, am I the one? And Jesus said, yes, it is as you have spoken. Right then, Judas gets up and he runs out of the room while everybody's still eating. And y'all remember that, okay? All right, then Jesus picks up some bread. He blesses the bread. And he starts breaking it, and he gives it to each of the disciples. And then he says, take this and eat it, for it is my body. Then he gets the cup of wine, and he passes it to the disciples, and he said, each one of you drink from this. This is a covenant between God and his people. This is my blood, which has been poured out as a sacrifice for the sins of many people. No, it's not blood, it's grape juice. Then they get up. He gets up. The disciples are sitting. Jesus gets a big towel. He wraps it around his waist. He goes over to a pan and he starts pouring water into the pan. So he starts washing their feet. Well, there's two reasons Jesus washed their feet. Number one, he's teaching them an example to serve other people. And the other reason, they didn't have shoes, nice shoes like y'all have. They have sandals back then. And so when they would walk, a lot of times they would step in some poo because, you know, they rode donkeys and horses and their feet were really dirty. And so Jesus was washing the dirtiest part of their body. And then Peter says, he asked him, he said, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? And Jesus told him, he said, Peter, if I don't wash your feet, you don't belong to me. So then Peter says, Lord, not only my feet, but my hands and my head too. And I'm sure Jesus kind of chuckled, and he said, well, you've done took a bath, you're clean, but not all of you. And that was going back to Judas, because Judas was betraying him right then, okay? And then he gets done, and they sit back down at the table, and Jesus asks him a question. He said, do you understand what I just did for you? He said, you call me teacher and Lord, and you're right in saying that, because that is who I am. And he says, if I can be your servant, if I can humble myself and wash your feet, you need to wash each other's feet and be a servant. And then he reminds them, he said, God will bless you when you do that. And we're going to watch a short little video to help you better understand it, okay?
That's all super good.
Let's share this special meal. My friends, for this will be our last time together. I will be betrayed, and then there'll be the trial, my death you'll remember. Eat this bread and think of me. I give myself for you, you can be free. I have done my Father's will, and now you must go and do the same. Always remember.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to read you a scripture. It's from Matthew 26, verse 26. It says, as they were eating, Jesus took some bread and blessed it. Then he broke it in pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take this and eat it, for it is my body." Okay, everybody make a single file.